Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Great. Yeah, so I'm going to be telling the story instead of talking theory. Not because I'm not good at theory or it's not important. It's just this is more accessible. And Detroit being my home and being as ignored as it is, when I was talking to people here and they really didn't know how bad Detroit was, I was like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, we hear about like how dangerous it is. And I'm like, the only danger, literally because it's so empty, are cops. There's literally nobody down there fighting each other anymore because the youth, as Ramiro said, are so isolated, so caught up in day-to-day struggle just to get food and live and get on the bus. I scrounge for change in the morning. I ain't trying to fight nobody. The only person down there who immediately makes my anxiety go out of control is somebody in a police uniform. That's it. So with that, I'm going to begin. Youth in Detroit are facing a deepening crisis that without revolution will have absolutely no solution. We got an imposed emergency manager, Kevin Orr, along with other agents of capitalism collectively arranged for this economic collapse, where toxic swap deals, thanks to Bank of America and their corporate agents like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, purposely carried out malicious toxic swap deals with the intent to illegally evict the most oppressed and exploited from their homes. We've been working with Baxter Jones and Jerome Jackson, and if I cry, I'm sorry. They ignored their own clauses that said that man could adjust his mortgage. Both of them are persons with disabilities in wheelchairs. One suffered a traumatic brain injury, and the other was shot when he was 14 by a bully. And bank programs are supposed to keep them in their homes. And when they couldn't pay their mortgage, they got kicked out. And they didn't send anybody to even come get their things. They just said you had to get up and leave. And they didn't care where they went, and there was nowhere for them to go. So this is what toxic capitalism does and what has been going on with Detroit, and nobody seems to care. But we've been fighting. Workers' world has been fighting. Former city workers are getting kicked out. Persons with disabilities are getting kicked out. Migrant workers, the least visible, are getting kicked out. And as Ramiro said, people don't even know they exist. Single moms are getting kicked out. And youth are already kicked out and alienated and apathetic. All those who struggle just to survive are bearing the brunt of planned economic assault under capitalist imperialism that says we have no money to sustain a pension. Also another fight in Detroit. We don't have enough money to give you a living wage. We don't have enough money for our schools. DPS is obliterated. We don't have enough money for youth and student programs, but then we're going to blame youth for social conditions. We don't have enough money for anything to sustain humanity and make you feel human. Oh, but we got enough money to drop a bomb across the globe. That doesn't make any sense. That makes absolutely no sense. Our country and its leaders have made it blatantly clear they are okay with aligning with fascists. People who killed my people. People who killed Ramiro's people. People who killed Raid's people. And we still want to kill us. Because they support the parasitic and racist nature of capitalism and imperialism that seeks only to collect and maximize profits for that 1% wherever Wall Street is, and destroy working class and poor families here and abroad. That's why we stand with the people, whether they're communist, socialist, or whatever, who are against fascism. That's why. That's as easy as the line is. Don't let the bourgeois media say, well, it's more complex. No, it's not. They fight people who want to kill us, period. And I stand with them. Since that housing collapse of 2008, Detroit has seen dramatic and scary changes in state legislation. And they did it really sneakily. There's this thing called the lame duck season I didn't even know about when I became a voter, because they don't train you. Where right to work was passed. And really it was right to be shafted is what we called it. Is an underhanded move to bust unions where they started using this term called union thug. Hilarious. It was turning workers pretty much against each other, saying they're going to make you pay these fees that are obnoxiously high. And so when you inevitably get shafted by us, no one is there to force you to go to court and force you to basically fight us, is essentially what it says. But that response was enormous, not just from workers who were adults, but youth who realized we don't even have options to join unions. I heard people talking on the bus, they're like, I don't even know what a union is, and that just blew my mind. But they realized we have to take multiple part-time jobs. They either overwhelm us with hours as student workers or understaff us as youth just trying to pay rent and assist our families. I heard some girls in Royal Oak when I was going out to organize who were saying, I have to keep my check this week and help my mom pay rent first, and then I can think about my bus fare. That's messed up. So that's a tactic that bosses definitely implement to prevent youth from even thinking about organizing and rallying and meeting up and speaking out and marching because they're too scared that they won't even have a home to go to at night. So this shows the highest development and the most desperate attempts of capitalism at a dead end that realizes it must marginalize us and alienate us to the fullest extent as the most oppressed yet powerful masses of hyper-exploited workers in a cycle of isolation, stress, and perpetual work cycles, so they are simply too physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted to even carry on a healthy social life, leaving youth feeling alienated. But they know that if we broke from that, they'd have a fight of the century. The social landscape in cities is also on a dramatic decline, as many mental health facilities are closing down. And this touches home for me as well, dealing with mental health in my family. It leaves youth to cope alone with the very real threat of burnout and breakdowns. Many state hospitals have become completely overcrowded. Just last week I talked to a janitor. Most people don't because they don't care about them, it's just the janitor. But he was the sweetest, most intelligent man I ever met. And he said he knew capitalism and he knew about Marxist dialectics and he never picked up a book on any of that. And he said, I'm seeing all these youth coming here and they're purposely coming because they're having breakdowns and just coming here literally to take a nap, to get rest, because they can't get it at home because they're just working and trying to pay bills and then working some more, not seeing their friends, and they can't take it. But many state hospitals have become just too overcrowded. So they have no choice but to turn themselves over to the care of the state for amounts of time ranging from a few days to a few years. The people I'm organizing with right now, one person said they had been in the state hospital for 6 years. That person ain't even 25 yet. Then once they are released, they must foot the bill, often at the dismay of their already financially burdened families or on their own. So this leaves youth with little to no options other than to take on under-the-table jobs or pick up work that involves drugs, sex work, and other occupations that increase their already high exposure to a police state that has no problem shooting and killing specifically black and brown youth, where police brutality is not even a new thing. Other people were saying, like, oh, we have organizers who are like, I used to be, dealing dope. I'm like, in Detroit, everybody's family was dealing dope. That's just a socially normal thing, and we already know about police. We don't need to be taught that. I knew that from being a kid. So it's culturally accepted. These officers overstep their jurisdiction by beating up youth and even going so far now as to humiliate them in front of their families because they just don't see us as human anymore. This horrific cycle of violence at the hand of the state's capitalist lapdogs, because that's what they are. Even if they're nice people individually, when they work as police, they work against us. Sorry. It has to be put to an end, and the youth know and feel this pressure. But their energy must be directed. And here is where FIST is going to play a vital role. We, as a revolutionary, socialist, anti-imperialist organization, see the necessity for a youth uprising that will unite across nationalities, genders, sexual orientations, and those other groups that the bourgeoisie keep culturally, economically, and socially separated by arbitrary legislation and just plain BS. There is an answer to this constant state of destruction that the bourgeoisie media will have you to believe is an inevitable fact of life. Life is just naturally unfair. Life is just full of money and humans are naturally greedy. When I first became a communist, that's the first thing I had to hear and dismantle in people's head. No, they're not. Capitalism is greedy. Capitalists are greedy. And that answer is by the dismantling of this system and its agents and the establishment of a new society built by us and for us. So this is the official call that I'm asking for youth across the nation to stand in solidarity with one another and with our brothers and sisters who are fighting austerity, fascism, which is a very real threat right now, and deteriorating conditions that capitalism is responsible for creating. Build FIST and build a world for us. All victory to all the people. Thank you.